vintage unboxing. These just came in the mail. Had a little bit of a weather delay. There was some snow and whatnot. Basically, like, if it snows here, FedEx is like, we're not delivering anything. I don't know how many notes were on this submission. It looks like there was 208, and they split it into 2 submissions. So that's pretty cool. And now they are providing a detailed packing slip. So this is kind of neat. It shows you all the notes and the grade. That's new. Get this cut open. This would be part A of B. I had a few weeks of just absolutely cleaning my desk off. It was terrible. The amount of notes on my desk were, and it, you know, it comes and it goes because I'm kind of heading back in that direction again. I have notes sitting everywhere that just aren't getting done. So that was box A. This would be box B. Probably split these into 2 groups. It's 100 notes here. So right on top, 34A silver certificate, 63 PQ. Just a note. Nothing fancy. Cheap. Here's the deal, like cheap entry collector notes, they sell right away. They're budget friendly. They give a collection a little bit of color, eye appeal. It's also, if you're collecting by block, some of these blocks just don't exist in high grade. For 34A, HA non-mule, good luck. I think there's like 3 or 4 known. So it just gives you an ability as a collector to put together a set or an example from every series or block. So let's say you were doing this is 1651. If you're doing 1651 mule, you know, the mules are a little bit tougher, so you could find an example that's a little bit more affordable. Funny back, JB block on a 28B, 64Q. Got a little bit of as-made ink up here, a little bit of green ink smear. Another 28B. There's probably a little bit of a run of these notes. So 2 4s. Here's a 6. And then a 5. And another 5. Oh, look, another 5. And a 6. I think these came out of a deal that I bought out of Minnesota. A 3. For some reason, funny backs, they sell super quick in 63, 64, and it probably has to do with the price spread. 3s and 4s are like $100, $110. When you get up into 65s and 6s, you're looking at $150 to $200 retail. Part of that is, if you look at the population of funny backs, it's like 20% of the population are gems or gem pluses. So 67s on funny backs are like 500 or 600. If you make a 68, just put it, you know, you can pretty much get whatever you ask for. They don't exist. So 64, 65, 64, 65. Oh, getting into some Feds now. 1950 D, Chicago, and 66 EPQ. That was the GE block. So 1950 series Feds. 50B, 50C, 50E, they're all pretty tough. I think D is a little bit more common for Chicago. Here's a 28A 100 graded AU58. This is most likely just some vault cash that I bought, so it's I wouldn't call this note a mistake, but Unk 62, I mean, it's not a very expensive note. It's cheap note. 28C, good note. This one has a lot of eye appeal. San Francisco district. You're getting a VF35 that looks like an AU. It's just very handily, couple of pinch marks in the paper. Hard fold in the center, but you can't really see it unless you get up close. 28A and 53. 28A Cleveland and 64. That's a pretty fun note. The first year for the district letter instead of a numeral district. I had a whole bunch of these come in AU, and I didn't quite know what to do with these. These are 1950 series 50s. So in AU, they're worth like $100 retail. I just put them in slabs to make them a little bit more eye appealing. I'm not making a ton of money when I sell them. $5–10 a note. Better than putting them back in the bank and nobody enjoying them ever. So 50D Atlanta Star. This is a little bit better star note for the series. Here's extremely tough note. 28A light green seal, San Francisco. This one's graded VF20. That's a. If I had to guess off the top of my head, this note's probably $300 to $500. Population is probably less than 20 notes known. It's such a tough note that they don't even know the exact serial number range. I believe mine fell right at the tail end of the known examples, so me and another guy had to do a lot of research before we could say that was a light green seal. 50C. Get this a little bit closer. 50C and 55Q. 28 plain and 35Q. Yeah, there's just a lot of this was just vault cash stuff that it comes in the door, and instead of sending it back to the bank, I just stick it in a slab and hopefully somebody can enjoy it down the road. Otherwise, it goes back to the bank. Guess what? It's lost. It's gone forever. So, you know, in our lifetime, will these ever become, you know, 1899 Black Eagles? Probably not. But the rate the BEP destroys them, we never know. Here's a 34. I believe they label this 251A because it's a non-mule dark green seal. I don't quite fully understand what the A means, but that's my guess. Here's one in 67 EPQ. This is a great note. Got really nice margin. I mean, the margins are immaculate. Here's one in 66. the film they put on these holders, it actually doesn't help me with the camera whatsoever. So no, and these aren't part of the same consecutive run either. These are all mixed up. So here's a 63, and then look, you get a 53. I think I got these as a dealer took them in over the counter and asked me if I wanted them, and I just kind of said, okay. Like I said, there's not a lot of money to be made doing circ hundreds and 50s. It's more of just a more of a budget-friendly collector note. Like this note retails like $200. An uncirculated example would be like $300 to $500. A 67 is going to be well over $1,000. So it's more about the entry-level collector. You know, 64Q. That's easily like a $250 note. This one's is also a mule. I'll have to look up, but mule might be better for 34A than non-mule. It's a 50A and 63Q. See, this one doesn't have the film on it. Look how much nicer it comes in. So sometimes when they're slabbing them, the film gets messed up, and they just remove it before they ship it. 34A, or this is a 50A. I'm sorry, 50A and 64, 50B and 65. Lots of good notes. $34D, super tough series. If you're trying to find a 34C or D 50 and uncirculated, that just an example. It's unbelievably tough. There's only a handful of districts with notes that continually add to the population. For a while, AUs were about what you could find. So 28 Plain in San Francisco. There's a 50B Star Cleveland and 65Q. That's a good note. 28B Boston dark green seal and AU50. 1950B. This is kind of a fun serial number. Ends in triple zeros. So no, I mean, like I said, these notes are mainly budget-friendly notes under $300. This note doesn't look like it should be in a slab, and it looks like it should be fairly common. But 1950 series Minneapolis star notes, for whatever reason, are absolute hen's teeth. I've only had a couple in the last few years. I did make a 67 on a wide 2.5, but when you get into the 10s and 20s, they don't pop up. So as much as this would seem like a common note, this note's probably like a $150, $200 note. 50B Kansas City and 64Q. 50C Chicago Star and 35Q. Kind of a fun note. Here's a 50C Minneapolis and 45. I think this is extremely low population also. 50B in 64Q. 34 Plain and 55Q. Light green seal, so it's a little bit better. 34 Plain and 63Q, just Chicago dark green seal. Here's another Chicago light green seal. This one's 45Q. Here's a fun note. District letter, or district number, Minneapolis, 40 PPQ, 100. Super fresh original. I think a lot of these notes were part of this deal that I bought, and it sat on my desk for over 2 years, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just sent it to grading. flat 64. Most of the times it's not the note. Okay, so you see a flat grade, it's not because the note's been monkeyed with. A lot of the times they'll no cue some of these notes because of handling. And if you look at this bottom corner, the bottom corner is definitely not, it's not into the design, but it's also not super crispy fresh original. So that's something they do, you know, they look at the corners and they kind of look at the overall hand, like if the note's handling, like this note, you can see the handliness along the bottom. So that doesn't mean that the note's not original. It just means that the note over time has either been in a stack of money and it's been counted, or it's not been stored correctly. It doesn't take away from the note's originality. It's just saying it's not to the standard for PPQ. 2153, that's a nice note. 64Q. St. Louis, 64Q. So more of those 1950s and AU. $21.57. That's a good note. 1950 plain and 4. So 1950 series, just the 1950 plain series alone is extremely tough, I think. I don't see very many examples as a dealer to pick from. Here's a 50C Chicago at 65Q. Another 53. A lot of these are just, they have a wallet bend in the middle. They are what they are. Once that's there, it's there. But here's the deal: you could buy a 50AQ for $100, $110, and to go pick up an uncirculated example for $150, it's the same eye appeal. So it's just a little bit more affordable way to fill a hole in a series. XF45, probably, this is probably about the line of where I don't want to grade anything below XF45. Really trying to make 53, 55, 58s, either Q or no Q. A little bit of a ink smear right here on the right side. That's kind of neat. And the 64, 65. See, and some of these were part of the same run, if I remember right. So you're gonna make a couple unks, even if you have a stack of these come in and they've been kind of like messed with, or maybe like folded. The notes in the middle will be protected. It's the notes on the outside, they're the ones that get the hard fold on them. 58Q. Here's a tough note. CB block. Silver certificate. Extremely tough block. I seen this one at a show. It's got a hard, unfortunately has a hard corner fold. Otherwise it would have just been a nice 63, 64 quality note. But somebody needs that block. They're gonna pay you know, a little bit of a premium for it in AU. 34B St. Louis, 64Q. That should be an easy note to sell. Another series that's absolutely difficult, 34B. They are out there for Chicago, maybe Philadelphia, but when it starts getting into the other districts, that's very tough. 35E Star and 63Q. 64Q, same note. St. Louis 55Q light green seals. Those are fun notes. Numerical seal. Light stain on, I believe, one of the margins has a little bit of a light stain to it. Yeah, I think it's on the left. 63 light stain. Kind of a bummer. It just is what it is. This was part of an original run that somebody must have kept them together with something on that margin. 64. Oh, we switched. Now we're back to 34 series. St. Louis 64Q. They're mules. 34 non-mules are absolutely tough notes too. You don't see those very often for dark green seal. A lot of retail friendly notes. Federal Reserve Bank 20s, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri. There's a 55Q. 55Q. 62Q. So sometimes you see marks on the notes, like you can see it on this note pretty easily. See these lines? They're called counter marks. It's from when tellers would count the vault cash. They would have it in the pack and they would just go like this. It's an accepted industry standard. Both PMG and PCGS both recognize that that's part of how vault cash would look. Minor ink marks. Oh yeah, a little bit of a teller stamp on the back. That's kind of neat from being an original pack. 55, 35Q. Looks like it's gonna end with 35Qs. Well, guys and gals, that's about it for today. I'm super busy buying this stuff, making it available, getting it listed, getting it on the market, shipping it to customers. That's half of this submission. There's going to be another half appearing. I'm getting notes back weekly-ish. Probably see me back in a couple weeks, and I should have some really high-end goodies coming back. A little bit better quality notes. We bought a huge large size star type collection. You'll be seeing that coming back, and also probably some high denoms along with a few PMG orders. So I'll make sure to get those up, and I hope you all have a great week.